Hey everybody, it's Miss Nickerson, and today I'm going to show you all about Pear Deck. So Pear Deck is an amazing tool because this is an interactive slides presentation for your students. So if you are just presenting material that they sit and consume, Pear Deck allows them to be part of the presentation and interact with it, answer questions, put out their thinking. They can put short answer questions, draw, and they follow along during your presentation. So it makes engagement boost a lot, and it's so much more fun for students to have this interactive experience. So my district has Pear Deck Premium, and I'm going to go over what that means a little bit. If you are not in a district that has Pear Deck Premium, that is totally okay. You can still use Pear Deck, you just might not get all of the added bells and whistles of it. So Pear Deck Premium allows you to add questions on the fly while you're teaching, allows you to lock student screens so that they can stop what they're doing and pay attention to you, allows you to include student paced mode, which is great for small group instruction. You can create Pear Decks that students complete on their own time. It allows you to add audio to your slides to be able to read for students who may not be reading yet and give them directions. It allows you to have immersive reader to have text read aloud to students. And then there's also the teacher dashboard that allows you to see their responses and give feedback to students. I'm going to show you what Pear Deck has, and I'm going to be showing you from my premium account, but even if you don't have premium, you can still use all the question types. So I'm at peardeck.com, and I'm just going to log in and show you what it looks like. So I'm going to click on the teacher login, and it will probably have you sign in with Google. And I'm going to show you some really cool things on the dashboard here. So the very first thing is the content orchard. So they call it the orchard. And on the orchard, there are so many lesson templates for you to choose from. What's really awesome about this is that they have so many integrations with other tools. So once you click on it, here's the orchard. The orchard has integrations with all of these different tech tools and different platforms. So Everfi, if you're trying to teach a social emotional skill or maybe middle school math or science, there are already slides that Pear Deck and Everfi have created together. Newsomatic is another one. They include ones that use the flip camera. Now, one of my favorite ones that I used as a teacher too is that Pear Deck and Newsela teamed up together to create daily decks on current events. So it will use an article from Newsela in the Pear Deck platform so that students are interacting and putting their thoughts down after reading from Newsela, which was so fun. And whenever there was one that I knew my kids would be interested in, we would use it. So there's an option that if you click on it, you can actually subscribe to it. So every Monday, you'll get an email with the week's daily decks. And then all you have to do is start the Pear Deck session. It's a ready-to-go lesson for your students. So that is the content orchard. Now, there are some other options here too. If you want to create a Pear Deck lesson from scratch, you can click here. If you want to launch just a quick prompt to get your students thinking or to ask prior knowledge, any of that kind of stuff, you can just click one question, or you can just create a very quick slide to send out to students. Flashcard Factory, I have another video all about that, so you can watch that to learn more. Or you could present a file from your Google Drive. I don't have anything at the moment that is ready to go, so I'm just going to start by creating a lesson. So Pear Deck will automatically start creating a Google Slides file for you, and it will bring up all of the instructions on how to create your own Pear Deck. So it will guide you step by step, but I'm also going to show you since I'm here. So it's showing you that you can make your lessons interactive. So Pear Deck right now is showing you how you can make your lessons interactive. And so Pear Deck is actually an add-on up here in Google Slides, and that's how you're going to create your slides. So if I add a slide, so now that I've created my own slide, I'm going to show you the different Pear Deck choices. So now I'm ready to add some interactive Pear Deck slides in a slides presentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the Pear Deck extension, which for some reason right now isn't working out, but if you go to extensions, you can scroll down to Pear Deck for Google Slides and we can open it up. So then off to the right here, you can see all of the functionalities that you have with Pear Deck. You can go through the template library, or you can discover lessons in the orchard, which we already looked at a little bit. So if we go to the template library, it's going to show us exactly which slides we could add at the beginning of our lesson, middle of our lesson, and at the end of our lesson. So I could add a slide to activate the kids' prior knowledge, that says, what did you learn from the homework? So now Pear Deck is working to add it to our presentation, and it will automatically give you a speaker note too to remind you what this slide is about. So the kids will be able to write their response on their own screen. One that I normally like to use is this one, which is draw or type 2 things you already know about today's topic, because you can see if kids already know about the topic today. They can draw their thinking, they can type their thinking. They have a lot of opportunities with this, and it's just 2 ideas, and you can just let them know if they don't know that they can either leave it blank or they can draw a picture about what they hope to learn or want to learn. You can get creative with it. So then if we go back to during the lesson, you can add these interactive slides. So on this one, drag your dot whether you agree or disagree. So every student will get a dot on their screen and they can bring it to agree or disagree. And then from the teacher dashboard, you'll be able to show them other people's responses as well as a whole class. I really like to include some stretch breaks or brain breaks. So this is a really good one to include if your lesson is starting to get a little bit long, to take a little bit of a break. Another great one is summarizing what you just learned. There are so many really good ones in the templates here. At the end of the lesson, this is a quick way for you to see what kids learned today. So it's a quick little exit ticket. It can be something as simple as seeing how your kids are feeling. So if you're teaching younger grades and you just want to see if they're feeling good about learning a topic or maybe not so great, or you can have them draw or type 2 things that they learned, have a full-on reflection. They can be reflective and give you feedback. So how well did you like the lesson today? So that way you as a teacher can know. But any of these templates that you decide to use in your classroom, all you have to do is click on it, and Pear Deck does all the work of putting it into your slides presentation. So off to the left here, you can see that Pear Deck is populating my slides. So my presentation is being put together by Pear Deck. They also have more categories than just lesson builders. They also have learning development, subject areas, and so much within the subject areas as well. So if you are doing a math lesson, there are all these different templates to help you get started as a teacher. So I know that for me personally, I loved using Pear Deck on days when we were doing measurement with rulers, because I didn't have to worry about all the kids having a ruler, because somehow a student would always lose their ruler. This way I could just have a ruler on my slides presentation and put objects up there, and then kids could use their finger to draw the line between the ruler and the object to tell me how big an object was. So things like that, you can get very creative with Pear Deck. Another way that Pear Deck is super helpful is with graphing. So if you want students to have a grid paper or background for the lesson that you are teaching, you can just keep creating slides that have grid paper for your students, and then they can just graph the line or whatever formula you're doing right on their Chromebook. They also have an option for geography with maps. They have so much that you can pick from. Even if you're working with the littles like K2, Pear Deck has created tons of slides that can help with your kids as well. When it comes to phonics, they can fill in the missing letter. They can do basic math problems with these 10 blocks, all different things that are great for kids, especially if you decide to do a self-paced Pear Deck and have students complete this on their own in small groups. I know as a 3rd grade teacher, I definitely use this clock one for my kids to tell time, and also the money one. Those 2 were very helpful for me. If you have your own slides that you want to create as a Pear Deck, you can totally do that as well too. So let's say I want to do a quick multiplication problem with my students. I can say multiply 4 times 5. And let's say that I want them to just show me their thinking. Then what I can do over here is if I go back to Pear Deck, I can create this slide as a type of question. So then what I can do is for this one, I want students to draw on it because I want them to show me their thinking. They can draw an array, they can draw 4 or 5 times, they can use dots, they could do whatever they would like. So I just want to turn this slide to be interactive. So I can do that with any slides presentation that I already have. I can turn any slide into an interactive question. The different question types are all right here. So this one is a text option. So if you want to ask the students to answer short answer, they can do that. If you'd like to have a multiple choice one, if you want students to pick a number, if you want students to have an extension activity where they go to a different website, or maybe you want to tie in a Newsella article, then you can attach a website to it as well. You can have a drawing slide, which we just did, and then you can also have a draggable slide. So if you wanted to include a dot somewhere or a star where students could drag that around to pick the correct answer or a correct picture. The other thing that you can do is you can add audio to a slide, which is great for your self-paced Pear Deck. So you get to essentially clone yourself and read directions to students. Maybe you want to have a story up here that you're focusing on comprehension, so you can read the story to your students and then have them answer comprehension questions after. So I'm going to make sure to show you guys all of the question types and what adding audio to the slide would sound like. So I'm going to delete all of the template ones that we picked, but it will tell you, like this one is students will write their response. For this one, students would drag anywhere on the slide. Another dragging one. This one students can draw. This one students can draw as well. So I'm going to show you what it would look like to go through as a student with these different types of slides. So I'm going to create this one as a text slide. So the next slide that I'm going to ask is multiple choice. So this one won't give immediate feedback to the students whether it's right or wrong, but on the teacher dashboard you can show them what a majority of students think. So I'm just going to write choice A, choice B, and choice C. The next slide allows for them to have a number. So students are going to type a number in. The next one could have a website. So let's say I want them to go to Newsella. I already have a draw slide, so then the last one that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a slide here that is draggable. And then what's cool about this one is you get to pick what your draggable object looks like. So you could have a dot, you could have multiplication signs, greater than, less than, you could have numbers, you could have different pictures, and then you can also have like a check mark. So let's say that I had a choice board here, and students could say that they were working on a Flipgrid activity, they could be working on an Edpuzzle activity, they could be working on ExactPath. Then they could bring their check mark around to show me what they are working on. So I'm going to show with this example right here. I'm going to add some audio to this slide to show you what this looks like. On this slide, I would like you to show me how to multiply 4 times 5. I would like you to draw your thinking for me, please. So with an array or with dots or with one of the other strategies that we talked about in class today, please show me how you would multiply 4 times 5. And then circle your answer when you're done. So then I can test out my audio. I would like you to show me how to multiply 4 times 5. So now I'm going to save the audio to that slide. So now students are able to click on that to hear me giving directions. So if this were a self-paced Pear Deck, students don't need to call me over and ask what to do. They can listen to my voice and hear what they need to do. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start the lesson so that we can see what it looks like from a student end. So I want this to be an instructor-paced activity. I don't want it to be I want this to be live because all of my students are following along whole group. If I wanted to create this as station work, I could totally do that as well, and I could allow my students to work at their own pace in student-paced mode. So what will happen right now is Pear Deck is going to give me a code, and it will tell me that I'm projecting the join code to my students. So right here, I have the teacher dashboard. This is the student view. So this is what the student view is going to look like. This is what students can see. Pear Deck is going to give them this. They're going to go to joinpd.com. So students are going to go to joinpd.com, and then they're going to type in the code that is projected to the class. Now what's nice is that it will always be up in the upper right hand corner. So here I see it's ATBVCG. So right here I'm going to type ATBVCG. I'm just going to fill out how I'm feeling today, and then the presentation is going to load for me. So this is the student view that I am in right now. I'm not able to navigate through the slides. I'm only able to look at it right now because my teacher hasn't moved me along. So if I go back to the teacher dashboard right here, I can move to slide 2, and it will automatically move to slide 2 for my students. But on the student view, you can see this is a draw slide. So students are going to have the option to draw, and they get a pencil, highlighter, line, tool, text, and an eraser, and an array of different colors. So if I say that I already know something about today's topic, I could draw it out. 2 times 2 equals 4. I could say that I know division. I already know multiplication, division before we even start. So now this slide is done. Now on the teacher dashboard side, this is important because you can click show responses and you can see what your students are working on. You also have the option to lock screens. So if you want to tell students, okay, time is up, no more putting in questions, your screens are locked. Now on the student end, it says your teacher has locked responses for this slide. So then they can't work any further. If you wanted to on the fly, since this is a premium account, you can on the fly put in a slide from the template. Also, if you had any speaker notes that you wanted to use, those will still be available to you on the teacher dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead and hide responses. Something that's useful to know as a teacher is that if some kids are not being appropriate, you might want to moderate through that before you just present it to your whole class to see. So I liked to have one device up on the board that was a student's perspective and then have my own holding the teacher dashboard. So I would just have the teacher dashboard not showing responses on one device up on the board, and then my own student dashboard where I could look through it, and if they were all appropriate, then on my other device I could go through all of the responses as well. So now on the teacher end, I'm going to go to the next screen, and now as a student I can see the graph y equals x plus 2. So then I could easily pick one and then just start graphing away, and as a teacher I can look to see what all of my students are working on. So if I were to scroll down, I would see all of the kids who are in the Pear Deck right now, but right now I'm the only one in it. So now on the teacher end, I'm going to stop showing responses, and then I'm going to move forward. So this is the one that had audio on it, so I want to show you from the kid end what this looks like. On the kid end, the audio is right here in the bottom right hand corner. On this slide, I would like you to show me how to multiply 4 times 5. So then for any of your students who may not be able to read the content or who just aren't very confident reading, if you have word problems in math, anything like that, you can go ahead and read the question for them. and then students could show me, they could say, oh yeah, I remember that. Let me get my dots that I learned how to do in class today. And then I could use the text tool and write 4 groups of 5 is 20. And then I also set in the directions to circle your answer. I'm gonna put 20 and circle my answer. So then on the teacher end, in real time, you'll be able to see your students working, and then you'll also be able to see all of their responses on the fly. So if you see that students aren't able to understand the concept of multiplication, you can monitor and adjust to go back and make sure that you review, okay, everybody, multiplication, 4 groups of 5, so we need to have our columns and rows matching up to be multiplication, and you can really have that conversation with your kids in real time and see that feedback. So now we're going to go to the next slide. And this was a slide that was multiple choice for the students. So on the screen, you would definitely want to include your question. I just wanted to make sure to show all of the question types. So then if I choose choice B, the teacher is going to see all of that feedback immediately, and it's going to tell you how many students picked A, B, or C. So I was in a classroom where I used this tool, and a lot of students had the wrong answer, and I projected it, and the kids who were right second-guessed themselves because they saw so many kids had picked the wrong answer. So this tool can definitely be used. Kids can change their answer on the fly as well, so I would give students hints and tell them that they could change their answer if they wanted to. It was really awesome because they could have a conversation. Okay, 10 of you picked A, why did you choose that? 1 of you picked B, why did you choose that? And then you can really have a great class discussion because of that. So let's go to the next question type. And this one includes a link for students. So this is just a website, this is Newsela. So if I were to click on it, it would bring me into a new tab with Newsela or the website that my teacher wanted me to use. So this is a great one for self-paced mode. If I had assignments in Newsela or assignments in Epic, then I could go read a book and then come back to the Pear Deck. And the last question type is the draggable one. So I picked it to be a check mark because for this option, I want students to drag to the option that they're working on. So if I had a choice board where I was given the option to do these 3 activities, I could say I'm working on my Ed puzzle right now. And then in real time, my teacher can see who is working on what. And if there were more than 1 check mark, I would see tons of little check marks on the screen and get to see where everybody is working at. And so that's it for the presentation because I only have 7 slides. So at the end, I would want to make sure to click end, and then I would name this. And if you save and end the session, the awesome thing that Pear Deck does is it publishes the takeaways. So if you want to have a PDF file of it, you can do that and share with students, but you can also share it to Google Classroom, where every single kid is going to get a copy of their Pear Deck presentation. So on Pear Deck, you can essentially take notes and publish it to Google Classroom so they can be really focused and engaged during the lesson and know that everything's going to be saved for them in Google Classroom, and they can always go back and look at it whenever they need to. So since this was not a real class, I'm not going to click on the options. I'm going to X out here, but whichever one would work best for you would be a great way to make sure that kids have all that information. And then on the kid end, it will just ask how their lesson went. So that's pretty much it for Pear Deck. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions on how to further use it, let me know, and I will definitely make sure to get back to you, and I will see you all on the next one.